Hey everybody, it's John at National Sports Entertainment, and I just wanted to go into, we'll go into last night's games, and then we can go into the Commanders versus the Bears, and that one's an interesting one, but I did narrowly come to a conclusion on that one. So we had obviously some baseball games tonight, and I thought the Braves just weren't going to get swept at home, just like I thought the Phillies weren't going to get swept. So I faded the Braves in game one, and I faded the Phillies in game two. Game three, I'll have to look what they're pushing. I really do think they might push a Phillies up 2-1 narrative, but I do think they need the Braves to win so they can go against Freddie Freeman and the Dodgers. So we had this one tied up as well, and this one, again, to me, I just saw 7, and a lot of people, I think, were expecting a 3-0 game or a 3-1 game where Kershaw shut out the Padres and you gives up a run or two, or vice versa. But as you can see, pretty early on, it was a pretty high scoring game, and just of course that 8th inning, it's usually always a solo home run if you've noticed, and that just pushed the over, which is good for us. It works out. We had 7, but you can see how these games are manipulated. But luckily we got them both, and then we move over to college, and this one again, immediately I was leaning Marshall, and then I looked at the metrics, and I said, when it's like New Mexico State, I think it is. When a certain team finishes X amount of years against the spread, and for a particular demo, and in their case it's at home, 1-6, 1-6, 2-5, and it's like this for 4 or 5 years in a row. Usually, I believe that's not just like a coincidence; it's a pattern. So I did. That's why I said I wouldn't even be surprised if the Raging Cajuns won the game. These are the type of games where people can make money on as far as picking underdogs, because they can get away with some shenanigans in this game. It's not going to be as watched as some of the other college games. So we did good tonight, which is good because obviously going into Thursday we want to be nice and fresh, and we got the Commanders at Bears, and I went back and forth with this one. Like I had said, I was at the beginning, I was liking the Bears a lot, and then I was thinking about it, and I went over it with somebody in the chat, even, and going over that. Well, what if after the coach Ron Rivera called out Carson Wentz, he comes out and has a great performance? And I thought, that's actually a good point. The Commanders winning makes sense. And then I thought more about it, and I said, I don't know. I think the Bears being 3-3 in that division makes more sense. I do think more public money will be on them, but again, that with every single game, they're not just going to put more public money. They're not just going to go against the public. So this probably will be a game there's not a ton of action on anyway, and I can see them Wentz doing poorly and them spinning the narrative. Are him and his coach on the same page? And that will explain why they're basement dwellers. But since them winning doesn't do that much in my opinion, but the Bears winning, becoming 3-3 and setting up, as you can see, they have a primetime matchup next week. Then they have the Cowboys, so they have a tougher schedule. I feel like for them to keep this close, and if you notice, it's not till the very end of the season. They got the Packers, then they got the Lions, and their last game of the season comes against the Vikings, just like the Jets and the Dolphins. So I think the Bears are going to follow a very similar pattern to the Jets as far as staying in it long enough so people think that they can win. So here's what I had bet: 27 to win 25. That's just who I like. I think the Bears are going to win, just because I think they need to more than the Commanders. And while I do like the narrative of Wentz doing better now because his coach called him out, again, it's a losing team with draws that nobody likes. I just, even though and I was going to pick them as well because they had lost several weeks in a row, but I just don't think that people care that much about Washington, to be honest. I think they can lose 4 weeks in a row, and and they'll still wind up covering the spread 3-4 times this year, but they don't have to be amazing, just because they lost a few weeks in a row. There's a lot of teams that I think the basement dwellers that are going to lose several weeks in a row. I'll go into baseball tomorrow. Right now, I really don't know. I'll have to look into the pitchers a little bit, see what's going on. what the lines are looking like. I know we got the Phillies and Braves, and I think it's the Guardians, Yankees is the other one. But I'll get them out definitely before the games, and we can also go into Saturday's games. There's one game on Saturday that I really, really like. It's probably going to be the most watched game. It's Tennessee and Alabama. I really like that game, so I want to go into that. And of course, we're going to go into the others, but that one I have a good feeling on. But thank you everybody once again for being so nice and supportive. Like I said, I just try and get my whatever I pick out there, and I'm glad it's working out for people. We are doing really well. I haven't updated this, but we've been winning our last several sequences. The couple we lost, we got back. So we're looking good going into tomorrow and into Saturday. And I think we're going to have a really good Sunday, just because I think there's a few teams that they definitely have some trap lines if you look at them. Some have been brought up to me even like, why is this team getting this many? It just doesn't really make sense. So take care, everybody. Thank you for everything, and happy earnings.